Are you ready?
Oh, hold on.
Somebody's microphone is on. I need you to sign.
I just heard an echo.
It's me.
No, I might have you. I'm just double checking you.
Should we all mute? Thanks.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? As Mrs. Lopez frantically looks through her iPad.
I have a feeling it's in the last one because it's the longest one, but I'll find it later.
No problem. So we'll go ahead and take a vote. Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Mrs. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lieber, aye. So all those motions pass. All those minutes pass. So we are now to community relations, number 2, community relations, and we will have our hearing session. Mr. Favela, do we have any cards?
Yes, we do. We have one. A few requests for live public comments. So I'll start with the card first. First one is from Pam Sadek. And statement goes, I just wanted to take a minute to say how impressed that I have been with the district and especially Mary Fay in getting our kids back to school during these unprecedented times of COVID-19. All the phases that have been put out have gotten us one step closer to getting all kids back full time. As a mother of 3 elementary school kids at Mary Fay, our whole family is extremely excited to get back 5 days a week in person classes. My kids couldn't wait. My youngest son has been able to go back to school 4 days a week since December. I was so pleased to hear my son, who has an IEP in 5th grade, was able to go back 4 days a week. All of the teachers, staff, Mr. Frost, and especially Ms. Schinner have been absolutely amazing. They all have done everything needed to get our kids back in school with this pandemic, and I'm truly grateful. I just wanted to let you all know that you are all appreciated, and that the parents of your school really thank you for all you do.
Very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Zedek, for taking the time to write that wonderful letter.
And moving on to live public comment. And we start with Kenneth Ostrowski, subject to comment and visitation policy.
Asking him to unmute.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Three.
Good evening, Governing Board and Cabinet members. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to address the board.
Excuse me, can we just stop for 1 second? Can you turn that volume up?
It is a little hard to hear.
I don't want you not to be heard.
Okay, certainly.
Okay, thank you so much. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm Ken Ostrowski, speaking as Negotiations Chair on behalf of FIDA. And FIDA would like to address the discussion from the previous board meeting regarding changing board policy protocol for visiting schools. FIDA believes that for governing board members to make decisions in the best interests of students and all FUESD employees, that governing board members should be able to choose at their discretion when to visit and with whom. FIDA does not in any way believe that visiting board members are intrusive or interrupting of instruction. And in fact, we believe just the opposite. Having board members visit our schools to observe operations will significantly aid in the critical decisions that governing board members must make. And FIDA believes that an appropriate policy would include a courtesy notice to the administrator of the school several days in advance, and visitations to individual classrooms that last approximately 5 minutes each. And we welcome our governing board members on campus, and we look forward to seeing you more frequently, not less, in the coming months and years as safety permits. Thank you very much. Again, Ken Ostrowski on behalf of FIDA, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Ostrowski, for taking the time to call in and give us your opinion.
Okay, thank you. And next we have Sandra Forrest regarding district website items.
Okay, we're asking her to unmute. We should have her.
Oops.
Should I tell her we can
Yes.
to start? Okay,
Thank you. If you can just ask her to unmute the microphone.
you can unmute your microphone and you may begin.
My name is Sandra Forrest. I have a few other comments and questions with reference to my letter, which I read to the governing board at its previous general meeting. Since I am the director of a local charity, this past December, I became aware that schools in this district rely on donations for providing many items for students, including supplies for protection against COVID-19. These grant requests were a startling revelation to me, especially in contrast to 2 earlier newspaper articles regarding district expenditures. As of October 19th, 2019, the San Diego Union Tribune had listed Dr. Singh as the 4th highest paid superintendent in the county. Barely 3 months later, by January 24th, 2020, the Fallbrook Village News had printed a letter reporting an increase in the superintendent's already hefty salary. According to this letter, the previous board approved a raise for Dr. Singh at a meeting on January 21st. Mr. Favela, in his letter to the Village News, stated there was no discussion by the board of this item, and his public comments about it were not permitted during the open agenda. In addition, he stated that the district website had listed this meeting as a tentative meeting up until the day of the meeting. How did this decision on a salary increase occur? Was this raise listed on a published agenda? Are such budget items permitted only at general meetings or any meeting? If the raise was presented and passed without public notification or discussion, shouldn't it be resubmitted as an agenda item and handled according to standard board protocol? In order to verify the series of events, I decided to try and find public records of our governing board actions, general meeting minutes, special meeting agendas and minutes, or even audio recordings. Much to my disappointment, I discovered nothing. Why are there no past governing board agendas and minutes listed on our district website? The furthest back I can go is December 14th, 2020. All other school districts keep all of their past agendas and minutes accessible to the public, and many even provide an audio of their meetings. Our district needs to do the same. I hope the district will look into this matter in order to improve information available to the public. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you, Mrs. Forrest, and we will request that we look into why there aren't any past agendas listed on our board website, on our school website.
Okay, thank you for that. Next is Jennifer Jeffries. Subject to comment, public comments, community relations.
Thank you, Member Favela. Good evening, governing board members, and Happy New Year. I commend the district for having the courage to keep face-to-face learning as a central focus for the students and families you serve. The prior board, Karen Lieber, Susan Liebs, Sigrid Stillman, Patty Young, Lisa Matson, supported Dr. Singh and her vision for kids to be in school. Of the 43 districts in our county, you can count on one hand the number of districts that have had sustained presence of students on campus over the last 10 months. Fallbrook Union Elementary School District is admired for its planning and implementation of educating students in the time of COVID. Vision takes you a certain distance, but knowledge and skills take you to the finish line. Due to their knowledge, skills, and commitment, the teachers, the classified staff, the principals and assistant principals, Child Nutrition Services, the central office staff, and Dr. Singh all pulled together to make this district one of the very rare districts in this county to now have students in face-to-face instruction on a regular basis. And when I say rare, I mean unicorn rare. This is the mark of a high-performing organization. As of December, you began coalescing into a new governing board team. You're getting to know each other, and in the case of two of you, getting to know your role as a governing board member. I too am an elected official on the Fallbrook Regional Health District Board. I know about sitting on your side of the table. I observe from that perspective that high-performing organizations are like a well-tailored suit. You might find a loose thread on the sleeve that you fiddle with and eventually pull on it, only to find it is attached to the sleeve and starts to unravel the whole garment. In the high stakes, high stress time of COVID, it might be easy to get distracted and fiddle with a few loose threads, not knowing they are attached. The district you have today, the one that families regularly admire and support throughout Major Market and the post office, let me tell you, I hear about it. And based on board members' comments in public meetings you are proud of, took 10 years to create. As a newly formed board, you have the opportunity to sustain this momentum of educating students. Now is the time to press on with the excellence that is present in this district and to be rooting for the success of every student and every employee who are working diligently to make sure learning is occurring. I'm rooting for all 5 of you in your role as board members, in your role as leaders. Now is the time for reflection and wisdom with a good dose of collaborative spirit with students in the center. And I know we can count on you for that. Good evening. Thank you.
Mrs. Jeffries, I want to thank you for your service on the health board, but most importantly, for getting us to where we are today as a school district. Your service as superintendent was amazing and will always be remembered as one of the highlights of our superintendent service periods. Thank you. Okay, are we done?
And we're done.
Okay, thank you very much for running the hearing comment section. And now we will have reports from the board. We will start with Mrs. Lopez.
First, I just want to say thank you again to the staff for all the time you have spent with us over the last couple of months. It's really been important. especially for me, to get to know Fallbrook better. So again, I can't thank you enough, and I'll probably keep saying that every single time. I definitely want to congratulate Dr. Singh for being back today, but also for reopening all the schools.
Of course.
I drove past a couple schools today and everything just looked like it was supposed to be. So that was quite exciting. I have been in touch with Live Oak Elementary School. I'm going to be volunteering with them for their career day. So I'm looking forward to that in March. And I don't know if we can say personal things, but on a personal note, I'm very happy to say that today was my first vaccine shot. So I am very excited about that. And in 3 weeks, I will get the next one.
Wonderful.
And hopefully by the time we have a next board meeting, I will be a first-time grandma.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, Mrs. Lundin.
Thank you. Mine is brief. I attended the January 27th LCAP meeting with Live Oak School, Fraser, and Paloma, and sat in on a subgroup with Fraser and its principal, Mrs. Rainey, and the translator for the session, Ms. Arias. And this was my first LCAP session, so it was fabulous. And I'm looking forward to the next one, which I believe is on February 3rd. And that will be with May Ellis, Potter, and Fallbrook STEM. So it's really good to get feedback from the community. And I understand from some of the principals that they were also going to be talking to some of the councils to get additional feedback. And so look forward to hearing what the community and our parents have to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Favela.
Sure. I just want to share that I was contacted by Andrew Gonzalez, Director of Community Health Champions for Health. And they're expressing interest in, well, they provide flu shots, flu clinics in hard to reach communities. And he was just wanted to get in touch to see what local agencies here could also help get the services out to hard to reach communities, especially in areas like the Luz. So I mentioned that, and I know that there's already some collaboration there. So really glad to hear that. I'm really looking forward to see how we can support these efforts. They provide flu shots, but they're also going to be the leading provider for COVID vaccinations for hard to reach communities. Besides that, we got one more week to register for softball and baseball. So that's going, just so folks know, they're practices only, they're not full games. So in order to limit the number of people on the field. So just one more plug. Yeah.
Thank you for your report. Mrs. Rivas.
Yes, I was able to go to a couple of the LCAP meetings, and I went to breakout sessions with San Onofre and Live Oak. And that's always a wonderful opportunity to hear directly from our staff and their families and all the things they're celebrating at schools and ideas, how to serve our students, additional ideas. And then I was also able to sit in on my son's virtual tour of Potter Junior High. He's a sixth grader, so he'll be going into seventh grade. Can't believe it, next year. And so I wanted to thank Mr. Vito and Ms. Medrano and Mrs. Hernandez for the warm welcome that they gave to the sixth graders. And it was nice to see his reaction in real time as they went through all the electives, and each one he would say, oh, that sounds really interesting. I think I'll do that one. And then they get to the next one. He goes, well, maybe I'll do that one. That sounds good. And by the end, he's like, do I have to choose one? I want to do them all. So it was a great tour. And I think it got the kids really excited about moving on, gave them a little bit of introduction, even though they couldn't visit in person.
Great.
And that's my report.
Thank you. I would love to have seen that. I bet it was different, but still effective. Yeah, it's amazing what they're being able to do in the transition with this COVID. So my quick report is I was in a meeting a week ago Saturday with Cindy Martin. She was invited in just so we could all applaud her with her Department of Education Secretary appointment. And one thing she told us in the meeting, it was a fairly small group, she told us that the best poem that she would want all of us to read is a poem called Continue by Maya Angelou. So I printed out a copy. I should have printed out for everybody, but I just hope we all take the time to read it. She says it's what we're all doing every day. So she was really excited about her post. The only negative is her mother and her brother are still going to be left in Fallbrook. So she was a little sad about that. And in the same meeting, Ricardo Ochoa did a presentation on the Brown Act, which is the best I've ever heard. Spectacular. I would love to bring him to our district to do a similar presentation. And also Dr. Howard Taras, who is a consultant to many of the school districts in San Diego County on reopening, gave a wonderful presentation on how complicated this is. And one of the things he said that I thought was so funny, he said, the schools are just doing such a good job washing hands, playtime, school time, but then they go and they all line up and they stand like right next to each other. So he said there's these little windows where there's still some work to be done. He wasn't talking about our district. And then I went to what is called town halls, but you're right, LCAP meetings. I went to the Wednesday one on 120, and I went to the next Wednesday one at 5:30 on 127. They were both fabulous, nicely run, very professional. We did breakout rooms. I tried to get to every one and spend a little time. I wish the Spanish could be translated into English for me. I know it was well attended, that particular one. And then I wanted to invite everybody to the final one, which will be coming up on 1/3 this coming Wednesday from 5:30. Anybody on the call or anybody in this room who hasn't had a chance to attend, I think this will be the last one, and it's only 1 hour. It's very efficient use of time. So I hope you will attend. And then my last item was I attended the Vista Unified School District's governance workshop online, virtually, of course. And because we're getting ready to do our governance workshop, I thought it would behoove me to see one being done, and it was fabulous. It was very informative. And I don't know if you all know Cipriano, but he is the president and he invited me. So, okay, so I believe that is the end of the reports. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mrs. Lundy.
Thank you. Dr. Singh, it is so wonderful to have you back in the offices, and perfect
Thank
day,
you.
given that all the kids are.
It was a beautiful
I
day.
can't-
Let me just find my.
Tell us
There
about.
we go. Let me start my video. Hi. Thank you
Yes.
so much, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being, obviously, I'm so happy to be back here after being out for just a bit. Today was our first day back with students that are coming back 5 days a week. As you know, we've had TKK and 1 back already. And now we are adding 2nd and 3rd grade, and they'll all be here 5 days a week, as that lovely parent shared with us just a few minutes ago. I was in a couple of schools this morning and walking through classrooms, and I just, as always, want to extend our gratitude, I know from all of us, to our teachers, to our classified staff. I chatted with some of our custodians at our schools and folks who are doing the disinfecting and supervising children to make sure they're standing appropriately apart on the playground. It's just been a beautiful team effort, and every person I saw just said how happy they are to have children, more and more children in the building. And we're really, really proud of the work that everyone on the team has done to make this happen. So that's my report for you tonight. I'm happy to be back.
Thank you very much.
You
And
bet.
now I'll turn the meeting back to you, Mrs. Lieber.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we now are moving to board operations, which is item number 3, and we have an action item for a contract with Mundell, Odlum, and Hawes LLC. Do I have a motion?
Yes. My notes. I move to approve the contract with Mundell, Odlum, and Laws for legal services to the district, including matters which include but are not limited to legal review and advice regarding various matters on an as-needed basis and as directed by the school board of the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So open for discussion. Any discussion?
Lots. So the first question that I have is this is the third contract that has come before us from this organization. So I'm curious about that. Why do we have another version of the contract? I don't know if you want to address them inch by inch. So that's my first question. Why is there another contract? And then I have very specifics about the contract.
Okay.
So why are we looking at a third contract? What happened to number two?
And I just wanted to clarify because on the agenda description, it lists my name as the person that asked for this agenda item, which I did ask to revisit this issue, but this contract did not come from me.
No,
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 so I
it
didn't-
didn't come from you.
This is the
The
first
the
I've seen it.
revisiting of the contract comes from you, but the contract does not come
Yeah,
from
so I
you.
just wanted to be clear on that.
And perhaps you'd like to answer Mrs. Lopez's question about why it's back on the agenda.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to address that. So I think that we need to revisit this to correct an error in the process that we made leading up to this point. I have some specific questions about the contract, but setting that aside, I think that there are flaws with the process that we went through that we need to go back to the very beginning of this process. On January 16th, that's when we started this. We had a special meeting. And during that meeting, there was an appearance of a conflict of interest under Government Code 1090. We asked one board member to recuse themselves from the vote, and they did not do so. So I think that's the first problem in this. During that meeting, there was no discussion about how the council would be selected or the contract negotiated. Usually that kind of thing is done by our staff at our direction. But in this case, that didn't even come up. We didn't vote on creating a committee to do this process or talk about who would be on the committee. And then at the January 21st board meeting, we learned that 3 board members, Mrs. Lieber, Ms. Lundeen, and Mr. Favela had worked together to find candidates, interview, narrow it down to 1, and then negotiate the first contract or the first 2 contracts that we saw at that meeting. I think that in my understanding of the Brown Act, and maybe you know more about it now, Mrs. Lieber, but in my understanding, that is a violation of the Brown Act for 3 board members to work behind the scenes on something like this. The Brown Act is, it requires the work of our publicly elected board to be done in view of the public and prevents a majority of the board from communicating on items that may come before the board for a vote. At the January 21st meeting, Ms. Lundeen said she was only involved in scheduling, but comments that she made after the January 19th meeting and during the January 21st meeting made it clear that there was communication between all 3 board members during this process. At the January 21st meeting, again, the issue of a conflict of interest was raised and Mrs. Lieber was asked to recuse herself. She declined. And then we voted again, despite my concerns about the Brown Act violation. So I went home and did more research into the Brown Act and found that if a violation does occur in the process of the vote, then that vote is not legal and the contract is void, which in this case is especially problematic because we went forward under the assumption that we had a contract with the council, went into closed session and discussed confidential information. But if that contract was void, then we did not have attorney-client privilege to discuss those things with him. So there's a number of problems in this process, and I think we need to go back to the very beginning and start from scratch, make sure that we're very clear about how we're going to carry out this process, make sure there is no appearance even of a conflict of interest. And then ideally have, if we vote to go ahead with additional counsel, have our staff help us in the process so we make sure it's done correctly and that everything is legal. So I would make a motion to table this vote on this contract and agendize a future meeting, a closed session, so we can revisit this topic.
Is there a second?
You have a motion already on the table. Can we motion again in the middle of that motion?
Good point.
Okay, so we have to table the first motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we will bring forth the second motion. Thank you. So now we have a second motion. Do you want to state the motion one more time so we don't get lost?
I make a motion to table the vote on this contract and agendize for a future meeting, a closed session to discuss the need for additional legal counsel.
I second that.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Any more? No? Okay, so we'll take a vote. We'll start with Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lundin,
Nay.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
and Mrs. Levis.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lieber, no. So it looks like the ayes carry, and we will table this and put it on another board meeting agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, so now moving on to business services. This is information only. We have a quarterly report, and I believe Mrs. Martin is calling in.
If there's any questions, she's on the line.
Any questions? No? Okay. So our next was business services. We have information on a quarterly report. Oh, that's why I just did it. I'm sorry. Now we're going to human resources. We have an action item for CSEA tentative agreement. Do we have a motion for the CSEA tentative agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Mrs. Lieber, I just would like to thank our bargaining teams, our CSEA bargaining team and our district bargaining team and the governing board. We do such collaborative work with our CSEA bargaining team, and they take the time out of their work to come and work on our contract agreements with them. I want to thank them for their positive collaborative work with us, and as well as all of the people who participate under Mr. Billingsley's leadership. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll take a vote. Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Mrs. Lundin,
Aye.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
and Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
Okay, so it passes. Oh, and Mrs. Lieber, aye, 5-0. Now we'll move on to educational services. It's an action item, comprehensive school safety plan for 2021. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the comprehensive school safety plans.
Great, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great, and is there any discussion?
I just want to comment on how obvious it is, how much care and thought and effort went into these plans, and how you can see that everyone in the school community is involved, from the janitors, the playground supervisors, students, parents, obviously principals. So it's really a community effort, and I'm just so glad that I know it's always been in our district, but even at the higher levels, the realization that student connectedness and feeling empowered is critical to school safety, and that's obvious in these plans. And it's so nice to see the different schools and their little different takes on the buddy system or mentoring or grade level service projects. So many great ideas to get the kids involved and feeling like they're part of a community.
Thank you.
And I wanted to comment also that, next, education safety is the #1 concern of parents. And I think these plans, Potter's is 30 pages long. I didn't print them all out, but these are just beautifully written plans that really address those issues well. So thank you very much to the principals and the entire staff for putting together such a meaningful piece of work and doing the work in the school site.
I'm really happy that we're looking at restorative practices. There was a interesting, just before I left the house today, there was a report on the inequity of race and suspensions and expulsions and discipline in general. And I think these plans really outline how positively we will look at some of those behaviors and do everything possible to not have kids out of school.
That's right.
And I think it's reflective in our school expulsion rate. I mean, I think it's really amazing how wonderful we are doing with restorative. Any more comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Lundin.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
And it passes. I vote aye, 5-0. And the next action item are the instructional calendars. We had a first read at our last board meeting. This will be an action item. Do we have a first and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Great. Any comments? Okay, no comments? I will take a vote. Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Mrs. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Rivas.
Aye.
And I vote aye. And our last action item for tonight on the, under Human Resources is the Mike Choate Center Preschool Instructional Calendar. Do we have a first and a second?
I'll move.
Second.
And any discussion?
Just to note that it's under Ed Services.
What did I say? I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Ed Services. Thank you. And so we'll take no comment other than that. We'll take a vote. Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Mrs. Lundin.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Rivas.
Aye.
And I vote aye. And now we are on the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Do I take a first and a second? Okay, so I will take a first and a second on the consent agenda, and then we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I don't mean to be looking at you. I'm just looking at anybody.
I'm gonna give everybody a turn.
Okay, I like to spread it around.
I'm trying to. Any discussion?
No, I didn't have any issues on any of those items.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to congratulate Pat Dawson on her retirement. When I was on the PTA board at La Paloma, Pat was the one you had to get on her good side because nothing happened without Pat giving it the okay. So she's been a great asset to our school for many years, and I congratulate her.
It was so nice that you went to the trouble to write up that extra piece on her for all of us to know. Not all of us knew her, but I also did know her, and she was amazing and hardworking for our school for over 30 years. Okay, so is there any additional discussion on consent? Okay, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Rivas.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. And we adjourn the meeting at a record time of 6:37. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.